Welcome to the Coach Harp Show. Today we have a very unique, my very first guest out of Netherlands. Wow, that's amazing. Well, let's introduce this guest, Patrick Klarenbeek. Welcome to the Coach Harp Show.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Patrick, it's an honor for first of all to have someone from Netherlands. How's the weather in Netherlands?
Last 2 days a bit rainy, but we have a very good spring. So it's in degrees, so it's like 20 to 21 degrees. So it's pretty good.
Now let's talk about you're talking about the weather and stuff like that. I want to know more about. I'm always curious about as a childhood. How was that for you?
Well, I'm not gonna dive deep into my childhood because that's gonna be a long story. Um, my childhood wasn't that great. Um, I had a abusive dad. They never had money. So I always had to survive. I was always on survival mode. But yeah, that's basically my childhood in a nutshell.
I appreciate you sharing that because as I noticed I'm speaking to you, it's bringing some memories, stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, is the stuff that we don't touch inside us still gets buried inside us, right? I want to say thank you because that's one of the hardest thing is to talk to people about their childhood. Now, I noticing that you were talking about your father and dealing with all that kind of stuff. How did you manage to handle certain situations as growing up from a childhood to adult?
That's a very difficult question to answer because I think you just move on and keep surviving and not think about how to survive, but just do it. Basically, probably on autopilot. I don't know. But I had to be there for my mother and for my sister and my little brother. And probably, yeah, basically take the hits to keep them safe. That's what I did.
So you basically had to grow up at your young age where you had to take care of your other siblings. So that put a lot of responsibility on you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I can't imagine that because that would be something really hard to deal with.
Yeah, from the outside world, everybody always thought we were the perfect family, and my dad made sure that everybody thought it was a perfect family, but it wasn't. Behind closed doors, it was very violent, and like I said, I was always on survival and tried to keep my, especially my younger brother, safe. I have an older sister, and she could manage or handle herself. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough. But I'm still here.
I want to say thank you, especially being May and being Mental Health Month. The reason why I ask these questions is because sometimes we never really look do a deep dive because we think we, like you said, let go. What is let go? We don't know what really let go is, right?
I don't think you ever let go. You just give it a place in your heart and move on.
True. As you're transitioning, how was your school growing up?
Oh, yeah. I was born with HDD, not HDHD, like the jumping around and being all crazy. But my head was always full. I always tell people, imagine your head is a file cabinet, and every file is stored nicely on alphabet or whatever. My head is a big room, and every piece of paper is crumbled and thrown in there, and that's my head. So school, elementary went okay, but middle school was the first 2 years. I think I did great, and then I just slipped down the road because HDD in my time was not. acknowledged. So they just thought I was just a pain in the ass and didn't want to go to school. But with all the troubles at home, trying to do something at school and they not cooperating with me, I just completely, excuse my language, but fucked up. Um, so yeah, I didn't graduate. I don't have any diplomas except for swimming diplomas and later on some other diplomas. But at high school, no, nothing.
Um, as you're mentioning this adversity you faced as a child, how did you turn it into a positive?
If you're dealing with an abusive dad and it's not only physical abuse but also mentally abuse. I looked at my dad as the devil, and I didn't want to be or become the same devil as he was. And that always brought me power and made me think I will never, ever, ever be like him. And that got me through the most of the terrible times.
Well, thank you for sharing that because you're getting really deep into this. As this conversation, the whole purpose of this is to help others, knowing they're not alone. Did you play sports growing up?
Growing up, football or soccer, sorry, soccer, not American football, but soccer. Didn't really go to a club or something like that. My parents couldn't pay anything, so also not sports. But that was basically it. No sports at that age.
So, what did you use or tool to cope with your anger?
Um, well, then we have to fast forward because basically until I met my wife, and that was at the age of 22, I couldn't cope with anything. I did drugs, alcohol, abused them, living a criminal life, did crazy, crazy stuff. Living on the streets. I've been on the streets for a year, literally on the streets, because I couldn't find my way. At the age of, I guess it was 18, at the age of 18, my dad got arrested for the abuse he did. And that torn the whole family apart, including me, because I didn't know where to go. I couldn't rely on my mother because my mother was devastated and couldn't even cope with the situation. So she didn't give me any strength or support. So I went on my own, slept with friends, slept on the street, and tried to figure out what to do with my life after such abuse. But I tried to, I think at the age of 20, around the age of 20, I tried to maintain a normal life. I had a girlfriend at that time, tried to hold a job. I had some businesses, small businesses already up and running. I did some web design, started to do more of IT, but it always failed because I just didn't know what to do with my life. And I had so much anger and aggression inside of me that even the slightest hiccup or disappointment just ticks me off and made me mad. And I threw everything around the house, and it was crazy. So no, I couldn't. In my youth, I couldn't cope with the anger and the pain I had. But yeah, then I was 22 and I met Nadia, my wife, and that changed everything.
Isn't it amazing how you meet that one person and they could change your whole life and your that's not just life, your world. That's why they always say that your partner is usually the person behind your corner of your success. So now you met your wife. How did you guys, especially coming from your background, stuff like that, being on the streets and the criminal life, stuff like that, why did family mean so much to you?
Because I never had one. I was in a family, but I never had one. And the family that got left behind, they were so broken, and I think to this day they never recovered from what happened. And for me, I found strength in love and family, and they found hate, and I just couldn't cope with it. So family is that important to me because the ones that love you the most support you the best. And my wife supports me in everything I do, even though I made mistakes and even though I did some bad decisions. But she stood by me, and she knew the effort I put into everything and the reason why.
Isn't that amazing? Like, for example, having someone strong, like I just mentioned before, is that that partner is your, what do you call it? Your confidant to move forward and to do greater stuff in life.
She she's my maze.
You're amazed. Like as we're speaking here, one of the things I noticed you talk quite a bit about is how did you channel? I know we talked about this earlier. How did you really learn how to channel your anger?
Let's start with when I met my wife. We were still very young, and so in the first year we were together, we basically always partied and had fun. I was living at my mother's house at the time I met her, and we were together from day one. We were inseparable. But my mother couldn't cope with a lot of stuff. So she was at my house every day. And then all of a sudden, my mother said, "You need to leave." And not only my wife needed to leave, but I also needed to leave again. So she kicked me out for absolutely no reason. But yeah, that happens. So a friend of mine told me we have a vacation park where you can rent a caravan. Go do that. If you don't have a house, at least you have a roof over your head and you can live there. And the first thing my wife said, "I'm going to live with you in the caravan." That's it. And so at a very early age, we lived together and party hard and we did crazy stuff. And one day, and here comes the change, and this is the true change. What happened? One day, she woke up early in the morning, and she needed to puke. And okay, well, we partied, so maybe it's because you're sick because of all the alcohol you drank. But the day after, she puked again, and that went on for 5, 6 mornings. So I told her, well, maybe you need to take a pregnancy test because you might be pregnant. And at that time, she was, I don't know how you call that in English, but you get a shot and you're on birth control for a half year or something like that. And that's 99.7% accurate and safe. So we didn't expect she was pregnant. So I thought, well, take that pregnancy test and see if you're pregnant. Otherwise, there is something going on. You might be sick. And she took one pregnancy test and it kind of was positive, but not super clear. So I was almost jumping up and down in my caravan. Am I going to be a dad? What? And then we went to the store and get a more expensive one, so a more accurate one. And the second one was 100% positive. So at that point, I was super excited, and she was super nervous. We're living in a caravan. What am I going to do? And I was like, "No, man, I'm going to be a dad. This is the best news ever." And after she settled down, I told her, "Okay, now things have to change," and that made me switch. I needed to get a house, a better job, get things straight, and I did that in 2 months' time. And then it was all about the family because I was building my own family at that point, and it made me realize, all right, now you really have to go to work, and not only work, but you have to build that family. There is nothing. You don't have any stuff, nothing. You need to earn money to get the stuff. You better get to work. And that changed me completely.
Well, isn't it kind of interesting, or even better words to say, how children change your life?
Yeah, 100%.
They become your motivation in life,
And motivation in everything and everything.
and to make sure that you leave them in a better space, a better environment, right? That's where a lot of the shifts happens with just a lot of people. I notice is when children comes into life, everything they did in the past completely changes. So I want to say thank you for sharing that with the audience today. I'm more curious about now as you're getting older here. How did you start getting into bodybuilding?
Well, that was on a. Oh man, I was always fascinated about bodybuilding, but I never did anything with it. I really got into bodybuilding at the age of, I think, 27, 28. And before that, I did push ups, pull ups, and the regular stuff, but not really. Uh, I didn't do really sports. I was a construction worker, and I worked 8 to 12 hours a day, and I always had a drill in my hand, drilling a ceiling. So I was always strong in my arms and my shoulders, and everybody thought I was doing fitness, but I was just working. And maybe it's a bit of a genetic that my shoulders are bigger than normal, but I think it's because of the work I did. But real bodybuilding started at the age of, I think, 27. But it was always recreative, so I didn't had any goal. I just wanted to be big and ripped, and did everything wrong, everything possibly wrong that I could. Um, and at a early age, I think it's an early age, 27. I was skinny. I was really skinny, to the point you could say I'm going to share some photos, but super skinny. And whatever I did, I didn't gain weight. So if you don't gain any weight, you don't gain any muscle, right? So I tried everything possible, but I wasn't serious. I mean, I had a daughter. She was young, and still trying to find my way around being a dad, and growing up with a youngster that demands all your attention. And because of my history, my focus on my kid and making money and making sure I can provide for my family was higher than the focus of doing fitness. So when I was around, I think around 30, 30, I think 32, even 32, yes, I started really diving into the world of bodybuilding, looking into nutrition, looking into training methodic, all the aspects, even the PEDs, the drugs involved in bodybuilding, because I was very how do you say that? I just wanted to know what it was and what it could do, and just trying to understand the logic behind it. So I did a lot of research. I even got my degree as a personal trainer, because I didn't only want to know how to train myself, but I also wanted to help other people. And that got me into bodybuilding. I didn't plan to do a competition, but I just wanted to get fit and healthy and have a good body and help others to achieve their goals. So yeah, that was the beginning of bodybuilding. But I think if you have any other questions, I can continue with the story.
next week on the Coach Harp Show.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about the struggles that you faced.